Let's go ahead and start with the opening quotation in the chapter by David Deutsch, which I think really illustrates kind of what we're getting into here today. A bubble of sense with an endless senselessness does not make sense. Would you like to expound on that, Rob, please?
Yeah, I think that's a really good encapsulation of sort of the dilemma that modernity has found itself in when it comes to rationality, because we have the issue of people coming up with all these theories about how biased we are, how unable to see the world for what it is. Theories about, even from evolution, that we really shouldn't be evolved to detect truth. We should be evolved to detect what is actually uh, just helpful in our survival, which could theoretically be pretty divergent. Um, so there's a bunch of modern intellectual thrust against rationality and rationalism to some degree. And there's some things within that that are helpful, but it gives this uneasy position of it. It's like, well, we have all these theories that take down our ability to know things through the use of our mind and rational pursuits and intellectual investigation. But we've come to all of those through rational pursuits and intellectual investigation. So the issue is, well, if I can't trust my rationality and intellectual faculties, then why should I trust that I can't trust them? Because that's all based on that. And so you have this conundrum that's come up of, we used to believe through religious metaphysics that everything was comprehensible by our minds because God made the world to be comprehensible for our minds. And so that was kind of just a given. And then upon the death of God, we were like, yay, rationality rules. And then all of the theories of rationality built up to, wait, rationality doesn't rule. So then we're left with, okay, then what does rule and what do we do with rationality now? And so that's the area that we're in, and that's the area that nihilism arises. And then this chapter is going in, wading into that uh, current conundrum.
So when we're referring to like, okay, we have the death of God, now we're going into um, rationality and reason.
Mhm.
That death of God occurred during the Enlightenment, correct?
Yeah, somewhat during, right after, in that ballpark. Yeah.
And so instead of going back to God after, reason and stuff isn't really taking hold, uh, we kind of go into nihilism rather than going into God again.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we have this weird relationship now where people clearly, by the way, I mean, you can just, it's not like the world has become less intellectual, right? I mean, to some degree, mainstream media and whatnot is all dumbed down, but people are still driven by intense intellectual pursuits on the higher levels. Like all the modern theories are based on tons and tons of reasoning, stacks of books, right? So we don't want to give up rationality, but we're also trashing rationality at the same time. So it's like, well, how does this sit? And it really doesn't. And as you said, people basically, instead of confronting the problem and trying to come to a logical conclusion, because they're just sort of oh, well, logical conclusions aren't worth anything. Like, well, that is kind of a logical conclusion that you've made based on reasons and myths that people have put towards you. But anyhow, so it is this, it's somewhat inexplicable, is part of the issue, that it is a conundrum. So, but we are doing it.